if you love yourself, it's easier to love someone else. Like we were discussing before we started, black men have to learn to start seeing black women as more than just another piece of ass. We have to. We have to start valuing our women. We have to start loving them and valuing them. And the best way to do that is to love ourselves, you know, and see them as an extension of ourselves. Okay? That's what we as black men have to do. The sisters have to learn how to
be more
approach, not only just be more receptive, but to be able to look at a black man and say, hey, you know, he's someone that I want to be his all. Submissive. And submissive doesn't mean go get my beer, go do this, go do that. It means being able to give yourself to a man. Okay? And you have to be able to understand that women have to be able to understand there's a lot of things that we as brothers are going through. Okay? A lot of us are damaged, and we need time, just like they need time. Now, a lot of guys are not going to admit that, but I think one of the reasons why you have so many problems in the dating arena, especially among us, is that women are damaged for one or another reason, men are damaged for one or another reason, and there's a disconnect. And if we can find a way to get healed individually, then it's a lot easier, and be able to value and love one another, then it's a lot easier. So, but I think that's the first step. We both individually, men and women, have to get healed first and value one another.
Well, it's hard for men to heal, though. How do we get back to loving one another? And that's the basis right there. Loving yourself, I think. But when you talk about healing, I mean, to put it out there, I think that as far as loving one another, I go to God. You know, I think that if you have a relationship with God, and for those that are spiritual, I think that if you follow those with the words, then you are able to love one another. And then again, it was like one of his last commandments that is overlooked. I forget which one. I know it's in John, but it said, "My commandment is to love one another." And then, I mean, like you said, though, you have to start with loving yourself. But if you are able to love yourself, that makes it easier to love one another. And if you hold it that way and you keep it spiritual, then of course that's the way you're going to treat that woman. You know, and the next person. So it's not like, you know, you're looking at a female and, hey, you know, you treating her a certain way, but hey, I know that this, if you're a Christian upbringing, then hey, I'm supposed to love this woman this way, accordingly. And so I think that that's the way you heal it, just through God. Speaking,
since we talked about scripture, Ephesians 5 talks about no man hated his own flesh.
Can I tell you something? I just read Ephesians. I mean, literally, I've been picking up the Bible every morning and night now. I read Ephesians from 4 on. And it's a lot for a single brother. It's a lot that was up in there that hit me. So it was like, wow. I just read from literally from Ephesians 4 on, and there's some deep stuff right there.
It talks about the way that we should, you know, the roles of men and of women, and it mainly talks about that as men we're supposed to love our women like Christ loved the church, which basically means we're supposed to sacrifice for that woman. We're supposed to put that woman on a pedestal. We're supposed to just lay it all on the line, not hold secrets back from our woman. And that's how we're supposed to do it. And so basically the key is truly loving ourselves, because our woman is a part of us. And so it's an extension of who we are. And that's exactly how we're supposed to do that. And a woman is a power. Women do not understand the power and submission. You can make this man do so much you don't even realize by submitting to him.
But they see it as an ugly word.
They see it as it's a complete, there's power. There's an actual equal playing field with submission. Because when you submit to a man and his authority, because it's God, it's man and it's woman, it's child, you're able to show that man exactly how much you honor him, that you love him, and how you treat him, and that man will flip over backwards. He will take care of you. He will love you. He will do whatever it is that you truly desire as a woman to be treated. Only if you understand that is exactly what your roles are. So it's actually understanding roles as well as how getting back to
like that either. That role stuff.
To piggyback on what you said, because you all hit it dead on the head, and I think and on the spiritual aspect too, there's a scripture that says that's better giving than it is receiving. So I think in a relationship, or to put love back in a relationship, people, both genders have to really focus on giving. instead of always looking to receive. And so if a person become more apt to giving, that doesn't mean I have to give all my money or I have to give all my time, but I think giving genuinely just means that's just that. You're giving something genuinely that you really don't have to, but you really want it to. And if you do more of that, say, hey, I used to have a friend, my friends used to always say, well, why are you always going out there helping him out? He called, help him out. And you know he's not going to do that for you. I'm like, well, if I got the time, it's no big deal. I got the time. I'm just going to do it. I'm not looking for him to do it for me. I'm not looking for an exchange. And if he doesn't do it, then that's fine. But I'm not going to put myself out like that if it's going to be something that I feel like is taken away from me. So I think in relationships it's the same thing. There's so much that individuals can give to one another, and then therefore not look for reception. But there's so many things. If everybody's all about giving, everybody's going to be satisfied. So therefore that's putting more love into that.
So go into a relationship with a servant's mentality.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's a principle of sowing and reaping.
Right.
Back on the spiritual concept is that you're sowing into that other person. By giving to that person, by showing them how much you love them. Eventually, they may not come around today, they may not come around tomorrow, may not be next week, but if you actually love this person, you will love them enough to see them through their faults, and then you pray to God, and that person actually will be changed eventually because of that love, and their heart will eventually be changed. Or else they'd be walking right out your life, and you'll find somebody better than them.
Yeah. Right. And now that brings
you to appreciate that next person.
Right. And now that brings just one other thing. Then, and I'm not going that. In that relationship, what do you feel about people that's scarred, though?
I was just going to say that you got to be whole first.
You know what I think
before you can do any of that, you got to be whole.
Yeah, because some people will not get it, and in a relationship to put love in there, if like you just said, if you're not loving yourself, it's impossible, totally impossible to love another person. Because they won't respect
people. People underestimate the amount of damaged people out here who are singles. There is a lot of damaged people out here. Be them damaged from previous relationships, damaged from upbringing or whatever. And we've touched upon how many women are damaged and why they're damaged and what have you. But we haven't touched on the men. There's a lot of damaged men out here. And it takes a man to lead in the relationship, but if the leader is damaged, if he's a wounded soldier, how can he possibly push the relationship and bring together a relationship between himself and another woman? So she's kind of standing on the side, waiting.
How can a man admit that he's damaged?
Exactly.
Right, because as a man, we're strong.
Yeah.
We're strong, and you can't admit it.
That's killing us, man.
And that's like you said, I think, when you say scarred, I mean, one of the things I was listening to, when you were saying about your son, and I go back to my dad, and I'm just blessed that, I have 3 sisters and there's 3 brothers, 3 boys. So, we easily, we love one another. And I see that, with all my nieces and nephews, we show them so much affection. It's easy for us all quick to be like, hey, all of us, we love you. We show the boys love, and, we show that affection. So they have it. And I do wonder whether or not, as a single brother, that because I didn't have that affection, I lost my mom early to cancer also, so that affection was gone at 7, I didn't have that, I just had dad there. Now again, I'm just getting that show me affection, so I know there's part of me that is scarred, and I try to deal with it. I psychoanalyze. I say that, I don't have a fear of commitment, I have a fear of attachment to the wrong person.
That's right.
I find myself, I find ways to avoid the relationship. Like I said, me and my brother was talking, we had a conversation the other day, and we both we were like, who you think gonna get married first? I'm 40. My brother's I think 37 or 36. And the joke was my nephew, who's 14, gonna get married before either one of us because we find those faults. We all were like, okay, we find faults. And I told him, I said, we were talking about the past relationship. I'm like, man, you know what? You would wake up with Halle Berry and you would be like, you know what? Your breath stank. And you'll find a fault. You'll find something wrong just to keep avoiding. I think that's what you're talking about. You have to acknowledge. You have to acknowledge it. And then once you acknowledge it, like me, I try to deal with it on my own because I think I'm real. I'm strong mentally enough to try to figure out what it is that keep me from really committing to a relationship instead of just seeing how long I get with this female before she figure out what I'm doing.
Two things. The Bible also talks about being not unequally yoked. Yeah. So somebody is not supposed to be going around and finding someone that's not really on their level. And sometimes people will give excuses for another person, and they wind up hurt in the end. Like, why did I get with this person? Well, you should have got with them in the first place.
And you know it.
And you know it. And you know it. And secondly, you should not look to someone, as far as a relationship is concerned, to heal you. That is a responsibility that each and every man, each and every woman has on their own to do. And so in order to, because hurt people, you know, so you have to be able to heal thyself and be able to seek whatever you need to go seek, be able to get yourself in a position to be able to love another person.
When you say that, I'm going to ask you, so if you're in a relationship and it's unevenly yoked, and you know that both individuals love one another, but once again, they express it in different ways, and one is scarred, because that's a lot of relationship. What do they do?
I think the most important thing is to be honest with one another. The biggest problem in those situations that two people are, you just took the words right out of my mouth, because a lot of times you are communicating from the place of hurt, and you're not really expressing to the person what you really feel, or what you really think you're expressing your hurt. It's a difference between expressing yourself and expressing your hurt. Because if you're expressing your hurt, that's really not necessarily what it is that you seek to be resolved, or the issues that you're looking to get past. You're actually expressing something that's a reaction, not an action to move forward to a better direction in order to heal that relationship. And I think that's the biggest issue, the people that are in situations where there's unbalance there.
Yeah, that's good.
Next question? Okay. Is marriage relevant anymore? Of course it's relevant. Like you pointed out, you know, it was the first institution that God arranged, particularly in the black community. Of course, we know the number of marriages is far and few in between. The numbers that last is even farther than few in between. There was a poll out not too long ago that said that a lot more people now were electing to stay married because of the economy. So it seems now the economy is kind of dictating everything, the flow of everything. There was a high percentage of people that were foregoing divorce proceedings because they simply could not afford to get a divorce.
Or be by themselves.
Or be by themselves. Even some more,
Yeah.
give you some more interesting statistics. The Pew Research, they are a nonpartisan fact tank, independent research firm, and they pointed out that 1 in 4 black males married outside of their race. In a poll they did some years back, and even a smaller percentage for women marry outside of their race. So what does that say? Obviously, we're all looking for the same thing. We're all looking for love. I think we all find it in different places. When it comes to marriage, of course, I think marriage is still relevant. You know, we all need good foundations. We all need good relationships. Speaking from a man perspective, if I want to move forward in my life and with a family and with the success and everything that I'm trying to do, it's important and vitally important for me to have a woman on my side. So I think, you know, marriage is relevant. It's just you got to find it with the right person, you know, and whoever she may be, you got to make sure that she's on point with what you want.
I'm going to throw a quick curveball in there because I know some brothers going to capitalize off that. But in defining marriage, I think the definition has been twisted. So right now what we view as marriage, I don't know, you know, because people look at it in a different light, I think, as far as what it's supposed to bring. And I think that what people are missing is that it's not really marriage. Truly, honestly, it's just a piece of paper that's what we call marriage. So at that point, it has that relevance then. But I think though, it's more so of the commitment value. So that having a relationship and being committed, I think that has way more weight. And I think though what's been missing though is that heritage should be part of that instrument as far as having marital arrangements. Because generally in the past, how it's always been, way back in the past, you got together with a woman to have a family to pass on a heritage. So then therefore that family name can continue to pass, you know, to pass on in this lifetime. I think that part of what marriage is about is totally gone.
Well, I think the dynamics, generationally speaking, have shifted from back when you talked, because I come from a line of people that stayed married for a long time. Both of my grandparents were married until my grandfather died a couple of years ago. My mom and my dad were married for 26 years, and then they separated, got divorced. But even now, no, he's still over at the house spending the night. So I come from a land. I come from a land.
Your dad still hitting it?
That's their business. But, I think the dynamic in my generation is a little bit different because now we have a generation, especially with women, that are they're highly educated than the men. They're more financially endowed than the men. Looking at it from their perspective, why do they need to get married? And so, they make all the money. They make the majority of the money.